welcome to another episode of Retail Media Thursdays. Despite the Irish bar that I'm in, we are in fact in Chicago still for another stateside edition with Kelly Gerrard from Marshall. Welcome, Kelly, to Retail Media Thursdays.
Thank you, Michelle. Good to be with you.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Kelly, and I am the Director of E-commerce Marketing at Marshall. So been at Marshall for about 6 years and lived in the city for the same amount of time. So Chicago girl through and through.
Very good. And which pub are we in and why?
We are in Corcoran's, which is an Irish pub in Old Town. I love Corcoran's. It's equally fun for sports games or for beer garden with friends, and it also reminds me of my favorite city, which is London, because it has the kind of British-Irish pub vibe to it.
I mean, it's
right
very
here in
fitting
Chicago.
for my visit. I love it.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Marshall. Do you want to explain kind of who you are and your role in this whole retail media ecosystem?
Yeah, so Marshall has been around for over 45 years. So Marshall is a company that is really an extension of our brand partners on Amazon or even in brick and mortar stores throughout all of the kind of retail media and brick and mortar landscape. So we work very close with our brands on things like inventory, creative, forecasting, and then of course advertising. So my team is one of the obviously very important pieces of the puzzle on how we have brands be successful on Amazon, Walmart, Wayfair, whatever it may be, to help kind of navigate what that omni-channel strategy might look like for them.
Very good. I'm sure that's changed a lot over the last 45 years.
Yes, it sure has. Yes, we have a lot of the traditional brick and mortar piece too, and then a lot of the new TikTok innovative stuff, which is on the other side of it.
Cool. So I've been at the Path to Purchase Retail Media Summit all week, and the number one question that was getting asked was around incrementality. Is that a question that you're being asked by the brands that you work for? Are they looking for you to understand the incremental impact, and how are you doing that?
So I feel like when a lot of brands ask us about incrementality, it's how can we add to an existing book of business that they have on Amazon. So a lot of brands might come in with a pretty strong organic placement on Amazon. So how can they use ads, not to take away from that or to replace one sale for another, but add to that. So with Amazon, for example, and a lot of ad platforms, but as Amazon as an example adds so many new types of advertising, new ad types like on site, whether it be a product detail page or off site with an Amazon DSP. How can you use those unique ad types, knowing that today, if you search in search results, you'll just see all the product grids? How can you kind of go outside the box with creative or with unique audience targeting to reach people that otherwise wouldn't have just come into the search bar and found your product organically? So it's a lot about customizing the ad strategy and using creatives in the right data set to make sure you're reaching new eyes that, most importantly, eyes that convert.
And how are you measuring that?
A few different things, I would say. So a lot of it comes from new to brand metrics. So I feel like that's a big piece, is new to brand volume, new to brand visibility, branded search volume, knowing that that didn't exist, let's say, before the ad campaign. We utilize Sky a lot for things like that, and experiments, for example. So there's a lot of pre-post type of things that we do when we implement new strategies. New product launches is a really big way to measure that because everything's brand new. So you're really able to establish all those baselines pretty fresh. And then also our tool, or Sky and like competitive insights, to be able to measure exactly what that real estate looks like, so that you kind of can see how that real estate has changed as you've adjusted your advertising. Yeah.
So another big buzzword at the summit this week was AI. I think everybody's talking about it right now. How do you think that generative AI and ChatGPT is going to affect retail media moving forward?
Yeah, I feel like a big piece of it's going to be in a lot of SEO, and then also in audience development. So we no longer probably are going to have to wait to get data back on how customers are shopping on Amazon or on Walmart or wherever it may be across the retail media landscape. But AI will be able to provide that data almost instantaneously on the shopper. So it's kind of good and bad. As an advertiser, it's probably a good thing because you can get that data and act on it very quickly in real time. Whereas as a user, you kind of are giving up a lot of that data as you're shopping and browsing on site. So I feel like it probably comes in that way from like audience segmentation, and then a lot of SEO where you would just ask ChatGPT, for example, what the top terms are here, for the top competitors in the space. So a lot of that data is all of a sudden immediate, which is both, I would say, like an opportunity to identify new areas to have competitive advantage, and also a threat. Because if you have that competitive advantage, everyone will know and try to have strategies to take it away.
Yeah, we've got some interesting things coming. I'm sure you'll see them very soon.
Cool.
But there's some very cool ways that generative AI is going to be built into the platform.
Very cool.
So we've been talking a lot recently about retail media being kind of managed in a vacuum, and people have almost kind of forgotten that it is just media. What role do you see retail media playing as part of a kind of broader omni-channel media strategy?
Yeah. I would say the biggest piece is the, I guess, availability to data in real time that like retail media programs have. So being educated about a customer based on a purchase behavior or browse behavior that you get with retail media platforms. So I feel like that is a big piece to educate broader strategies. So a lot of customer shopping behavior has changed over time. So I feel like now we're in that phase where data is everything. So whether it's sharing data or using data to make educated decisions on your customer targeting, things like that, I think the access, availability, and the use of data in retail media today is educating bigger decisions made at a company level about who their customer is, where they shop, how they shop, what kind of categories are they also in. I feel like a lot of that helps to educate a broader strategy.
You just said data is everything, but obviously the retailers don't always make it available. It's not easy to get your hands on some of the data that we actually need as marketers to be able to make better media decisions.
For sure.
How are you going about that? Where are you getting these kind of missing data sources from? What other data sources are you using beyond just kind of the performance metrics that they make available?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like Sky does help Marshall do that in a pretty big way, where we can take, knowing that Amazon, for example, is over 50% of search volume, that already is a huge data source that you can then apply to other retailers, where you can take all of the Amazon first-party data and utilize Sky tools, whether it be on Criteo and Citrus Ads, Walmart, Sam's Club, and use some of that Amazon data to educate some of the actions on those other platforms. Although it's not the Sam's Club shopper, it's an online shopper in that category. So at least gives us a step forward to create some sort of unique competitive advantage among people not taking a part of Sky technology like that. But I would say that trying to, we tap into the Amazon data source as almost like a first step and apply it to some of those other, because you're totally right. Most other retailers, I feel like, keep that data pretty close. And then a big part of it would be in relationships with those media teams as well, as those things become available.
One of the other things we've seen in the world of retail media this week is Kroger in-housing their ad platform. Do you think this is a trend that other retailers are going to start to follow?
I think so. So I think that as I was talking about with data being everything, I think these retailers want their own data, knowing that the ad activity is becoming so important. So I do think that is going to go in that direction. We've already seen it. So like as Amazon has established their ad program, Walmart took everything in-house, built their own thing. Kroger being one, Wayfair, there's a lot that have overstocked, that have pulled out of some of those third-party ad platforms to build them themselves. Like it creates more autonomy than using a third-party distributor of your ads. But obviously it creates some complexities, because that means that they have to develop it, and data accuracy and all those kind of things could be in question. But I would say that for sure it's probably a sign of the times, I would say.
Obviously, as an agency, you have a lot of clients and you're managing a lot of campaigns across a lot of retailers. And I know you're not just doing retail media, you're doing it across all of the different channels. How do you manage that? How do you manage that to scale that and stay efficient?
Yeah, so the use of tools like Sky has been a game changer for Marshall. A few different ways. The first is going to be just smarter optimizations. So instead of a user having to make a lot of those changes, whether it be ad scheduling, bid optimization, negative keyword harvesting, a lot of that is being done on a pretty automated basis that allows us to then take our time to actually be strategic partners, not really as much behind the scenes. That's I think the first big thing. And then the second big thing as I look forward is also just the availability of having data in one place, being able to then use that data and action it, as I feel like retailers take some of their ad programs in-house. Being able to connect and bring that all into one place is so important. A lot of our brands look at their advertising at a program level, not just each retailer. So being able to report back and optimize and analyze at the retail media level in entirety, in whole, I think is the second biggest, I feel like, reason why tools and the use of Sky with Marshall is such an important step forward.
Yeah, it's so important. It's the only way that I think it's going to scale in the future.
For
that
sure.
way you can go into all of these different platforms and manage them individually.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. Well, it's been so good to meet you. I'm so glad we get to finally meet in person after so many calls over the last few weeks.
I know.
So thank you for having me in Chicago,
Thanks,
and
Michelle.
have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.